This is the Fantasy Alarm NBA DFS show with John Impemba and James Grande.
What is going on, FA Nation? John Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm NBA DFS Playbook live show. It is Monday. We have 6 games here on the DraftKings main slate. Appreciate you guys tuning in with us here each and every day. Apologies for being a couple minutes late. Playbook is live. Best bets are live. That's all out there over at Fantasy Alarm for you guys to prepare to make some money here tonight. And now you're with us here to break down this slate. Grande, how we doing, man?
We're doing, John. We're doing, I got this random watermelon on my desk that my daughter just gave me, but I also have this heart. You know what? You know what this heart represents, John? The love that I have for you and everyone here watching us at Fantasy Alarm. That's what I got to say.
Honestly, reciprocated. We wouldn't be here without you guys who tune in each and every day. If you do want to hit that like, share, subscribe button, it is a free way to support the show. If you do want to throw us some cash, not us personally, us, I guess a little bit, but you can go join Fantasy Alarm right now. FantasyAlarm.com/YouTube, promo code YT50. Let the bosses know that you guys are supporting us here. When they see that promo code, they know it's coming from you guys who are watching this show, and obviously reflects well on Grande and I. But FantasyAlarm.com/YouTube, promo code YT50 will save you 50% off on that first month. It's $20 for the first month. We have all of our March Madness breakdowns live on site. Dan Servidita did a great job breaking that down for you. We will have our bracket challenge out for you guys as well. We got the heart symbol there.
Shout out to my daughter who gave me that.
NBA, NHL, MLB, PGA, MMA, NASCAR, DFS content, all included. All of our best bets, our draft guide and cheat sheet. Dude, next week, you and I are going to be doing a fantasy baseball DFS show. How wild is that? We're already here for fantasy baseball season. That's included, so make sure you check it out. Again, scan that QR code or go to fantasyalarm.com/YouTube. Enter promo code YT50 there. Show the bosses that you can. Let's break down today's slate. But first, I'll give a shout out to you guys here. Dave's here, so he doesn't get fined. I'm here, so I don't get fired. So that's
bar. That was such a bar.
Shots like Harden, Crab Shingoon. I'll appreciate you guys tuning in. I see through you always popping in here as well. You are late again. It's me. Every single time it's me. Grande is in here waiting for me to get in. I got like 100 billion things. I don't know if you guys know what we do here behind the scenes, but we're all doing way too much. The Prince on time. You're welcome. Vic in here as well. Let's see. What else we got? Anybody else? Yes, it's me. I know. Spin the block saying, what's up? Good evening all. We got little emojis. Got your heart symbol. It was a snow day today for days.
Where in the world is it snowing? I'm just disconnected. I had a tornado warning today, but it was also 70 degrees. So, snow seems that's in the rear view,
For sure. He says, give me the Brewers home and open. Did it snow in Milwaukee?
There you go. Well, Dave answered the question for me if I just read. So
he loves us and they love the show. Well, we love you guys as well. If you have any comments, throw them in the chat. We'll throw them up on screen. We did just get Jonathan Kuminga available to play today. So that's the first bit of injury news coming down here on the show. Top price play overall is just Jalen Johnson. He's up over $10,000. We'll hit there. Dave's in Wisconsin. Point guard. Booker 92, Giddy $9,000, Cooper Flag 87, Pajemski 83. Your top 4 from a price standpoint here today. Giddy is also your highest overall price rostered player on the slate, nearly 40% here today, Grande.
Yeah, and we kind of talked about that on the previous show that we did last night. Giddy, everything is really trending up for Giddy. The minutes have been elite. The production's obviously followed suit. He's an elite fantasy asset that we knew wasn't going to be under 9K for very long. So it's not surprising to see the price. It's not surprising to see the ownership. There's nothing that's really changed. It's possible that Colin Sexton returns, but They're pretty shorthanded again without Simons and Ivy and Okoro. So it's going to be Josh Giddy season. Memphis is bottom 10 in defense since the All-Star break, and we know all their, deficiencies with who's in and who's out
Right.
the lineup. So I think, it's never like an easy click per se for $9,000, but it is, you don't often get players of this ability in terms of like just stat sheet stuffers at 9K. This is usually a 10K, 10.5, 11K player, right? Like,
Yeah.
and
It's kind of what we felt at the beginning of the season when he was starting to go on this run and like the price hadn't caught up yet. And then he was a 10K player where he should have been. He's been hurt. He's been limited. So the price is now just finally catching back up and he's just still too cheap.
And now that team earlier in the year is no longer. And this version of the team is horrible. So it's Josh Giddy and friends.
Let's put it this way. He's just 2-1 tonight to get a triple-double.
Yeah, it's insane. That's Jokic. That's Jokic. That's like Jokic territory, right? Like that's like not exactly Jokic light, but it's close. So like, we're spending a lot of time on the chalkiest player of the slate, but it's warranted. He's a great play. Like you can, if you feel, it's also, there's not another spend up. Like you mentioned, Jalen Johnson is the only player over 10K. And I think there's some other players in this 9K range that are like tricky to get to. So it's pretty simple for me.
Yeah, and if we are obviously going down a little bit, Cooper Flag is coming in at 10% at $8,700. No one's really playing Devin Booker tonight. He's 3% in that matchup against Boston, but we highlighted that was like the lowest game total on the board, slow paced, and he's 9,200. So why spend the extra money when Giddy's right there? DeJounte is your next play from an ownership perspective. He was questionable going into this one with the illness. How do we feel about the 7K range? I guess we can throw Pajemski in that mix as well. Pods, Murray, Murphy, Holiday, NAW, Suggs. Like, what are we thinking here?
Yeah, we'll just go back to Flag for a second because I do like Cooper Flag quite a bit at $8,700. I think there was a little bit of a rookie wall, plus the fact that he was working his way back from injury. The minutes are great, 33 yesterday. Without players such as like Anthony Davis, who obviously led them in usage before he was injured/dealt, and company, 31% usage, 1.3 fantasy points per minute for Cooper Flag. And it's an elite matchup. I know the Pelicans have been better since the All-Star break, but really, really good matchup for Cooper Flag. So I really like him. I have no objection to DeJounte Murray if anyone gets there. Like you said, he's popular. It's a really good matchup. He leads the Pelicans in both usage rate and fantasy points per minute, 29% usage, 1.36 fantasy points per minute. Those are both super elite. The minutes have been really solid, being back up over 30 consistently every night. So long as he plays, he's an elite play. I also love Jaylen Suggs tonight. That's another, you mentioned the 7K tier. This guy is just, it doesn't take a lot for me to want to play Jaylen Suggs. If you're getting consistently 30 minutes, that's all I need. Because he's a super high ceiling player in a really good spot. We know Dyson Daniels is going to guard Desmond Bane tonight. And I know NAW is a good defender, but it's not the same as Dyson. 30 minutes every night recently. There's still no Franz Wagner and Anthony Black. Without those players, 23% usage, over 1.1 fantasy point per minute.
Last 10 games for him, it's a 25% usage rate. He had 27% usage rate versus the Wizards, 28% against Milwaukee. So, like, he's had some peak usage rate games here as well, kind of just throwing in the mix there. So I'm fully on board with that matchup. Again, Orlando, Atlanta should be a fun one tonight, just sort of the players that are in that game. If you're working your way down in sort of the mid and value tier, anyone specific that you're looking at?
It is just worth mentioning. I do think Kuminga being available hurts a lot of what Atlanta does because he's been so high usage. Like, I'm okay getting to NEW or McCollum. I think both of them have pretty high ceilings, but I do think they're slightly limited with Kuminga back. So just throwing that out there. Anything else in the mid tier? Not honestly, not really. I don't think that this is like a very good range. Memphis could have 12 guys available tonight, which is not something we're used to, but they do have 2 players on 10 days. They do have all their two-way guys available as well. They could, in theory, make one of them or 2 of them unavailable. Like, if Walter Clayton were to sit and we got word that, like, Mashik and Rupert were unavailable on 2-ways, then, like, you could probably make a case for Javon Small or Cam Spencer. But it's just kind of a tricky one because if Memphis has 12, Jesus take the wheel. You know,
Right.
like it's
they're,
just
they're all going to play 22 minutes, right? Like,
yeah, and like I do think there's still like 2 specific standouts on Memphis, but that's it. Like there's really no telling. Let's see the Memphis injury report right now. Like Mashik is listed available. Rupert's not even on the injury report. So both two-way guys are, and Javon Small, none of them are, all 3 are listed available today. Just doesn't make you feel good with those 3 plus 2 two-ways. And like, okay, Clayton out, now it's 11. I don't love it. I don't.
Your chalky value plays Ryan Nembhard. You kind of gave him a shout.
Yeah.
On the preview show, he's $3,400. He's 18% owned.
Yeah, it was something that we had kind of like talked through based on Daniel Gafford's status, right? Yeah. They decided last game without Gafford to start PJ Washington over Marvin Bagley without Daniel Gafford. And this is another spot they could do that, right? The Pelicans have also been playing without a traditional center where they use, they list Herb Jones as their center. It's more of like Zion guarding, like if their center's on the floor and Herb's still going to defend the opposing team's best player. But it is another spot where they could do the Ryan Nembhard starting lineup with PJ Washington as your like de facto 5. And it looked really good. 130 points. Nembhard back-to-back games of mid-20s minutes and mid-20s fantasy production. Yeah. And you would never know it based on the price. The price is kind of elite. So, yeah, he wasn't getting any ownership when I started the playbook this morning, and I wrote that, and now his ownership has skyrocketed. And it also matters because like there's not value as of right now. There's really not a lot of value on the slate.
Ray Jones 58, Brandon Williams 52 at point guard are the other guys that you consider value-ish, right? I mean, 58 is not really value anymore. 52 a little bit, but him and Williams and Nembhard are kind of splitting minutes there. So.
I mean, it's slate wide, like it's position wide where there's like not a lot of value. So I understand why people came back to Ryan Nembhard. Because I think it's just like, oh, we're getting a player that's close to minimum salary on DraftKings that could play mid to high 20s minutes. Sure, like that. Why wouldn't I want to just take a shot on that? Especially when he's been like productive. He's only like a 0.8 fantasy player this year without Anthony Davis on the floor. So that's like obviously not great, but if Ryan Nembhard at 0.8 played 26 minutes, that's more than enough. You don't need much more than that at 3,400. So the only other thing I'd probably give a shout to is Ben Seraph is officially active. I'm a little hesitant because my feelings like towards calf contusions and calf injuries and Brooklyn. Yeah,
Brooklyn, just saying on Brooklyn in general.
Brooklyn. But also, it's now a calf injury, right? They have him available. They're calling it a contusion. Obviously, they feel good enough with him to be available and list him available like pretty far out in the day, but he has played 30 minutes in back-to-back games, and he did close back-to-back games. So there's that, at least. Portland is a bad defensive team, and you're getting a point guard on a slate with not a lot of value that has played 30 minutes in back-to-back games. Again, just reiterating that there is a calf here, and that's a little bit scary.
Sure. If we go on over to shooting guard, from an ownership perspective, Coward is getting a ton of love here, but you mentioned already that Memphis could just have everybody available to them. From a spend up, I mean, it's Booker and Brown up over $9,000, Pods 83, Baines 81. Any thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, when you're talking about like Devin Booker is the perfect great player, terrible spot, low owned play, right? Like great players can be great in terrible spots. And Devin Booker has been on a heater. He scored 27 or more points in 6 straight. And in 4 of those games, he's put up 30 plus. We've seen ceiling games from Devin Booker that we really hadn't gotten for quite a while. The minutes have been great. He is a super elite fantasy player without Dylan Brooks and Mark Williams, 35% usage, nearly 4 fantasy points per minute. So, his teammate is going to be significantly higher owned. If you're just looking for a guy with a massive ceiling and a guy who, has no ownership attached to his name, then that's Booker. We'll talk JB at shooting guard or at small forward. Yeah. Not a lot of interest in Podziemski at 83 with like Melton and Porzingis and Draymond slated to play. I do think Desmond Bane is firmly in play, like another guy that benefits greatly from Franz Wagner and Anthony Black being out. He gets the biggest usage bump on the team, 3.8% up to 27.6. And he's only second in fantasy points per minute with those 2 guys off the floor behind Goga Batadze, who's not even in the rotation anymore. Right. So Bane has been their go-to guy. He also has like a pretty solid floor, but you're playing him for the pop. Like he has big pop games.
His threes have gone down again.
But he's scoring a lot.
Right. That's the thing. Like if he could ever just like take the threes they got him for spacing for,
but they've won 8 in a row. Like whatever they're doing, they don't need him. Like he's just constantly attacking, and that's working right now, right? They're not shooting a lot of threes outside of Suggs and De Silva.
Yeah.
Wendell, I mean, they all can shoot, but you're right.
When they got him, like, hey, finally a guy that can like be a knockdown 3-point shooter for them, and he's not taking them.
Right.
He's under 2.5 threes today. It was like minus 160. So like they're just like not even trying there. A guy who's not minus 160 under 2.5 threes is Trey Murphy.
Yes.
That dude fires. He is your second highest rostered small forward or shooting guard rather. He has at this position. Again, a lot of threes, high scoring outside for him. You have NAW there, Daniels at 7K. You mentioned Kuminga's impact potentially in both of those plays. Where do we go next as we work our way down here?
Yeah, Murphy looks really good in tournaments. Just the sheer upside of minutes plus made threes.
Volume,
Murphy, I mean, he could go 9 of 17 from 3 tonight. You'd be like, yep, that's a Trey Murphy. That's a Trey Murphy night for you. Yeah. And it obviously gets better if DeJounte doesn't play. New Orleans will probably be the most popular team on the board if DeJounte doesn't play. And they're already getting a bunch of ownership.
Yeah.
Jaylen Green is pretty interesting because, again, like, it's a terrible spot, but he actually leads the team ahead of Devin Booker in usage rate without Dylan Brooks and Mark Williams, over 37%, dude. 30, that's a huge number. The only problem is he's getting a lot of ownership in a terrible spot. So, like, I'm in on Jaylen Green. I'm also perfectly fine if you look at it and say, do I need to play, Jaylen Green in a spot that, is against the slowest paced team in the NBA, against a top 5 defense? Like, you can make the case against it.
Sure.
You know, you don't have to play chalk because they're chalk. Like I think DePrince asked that yesterday or the day before about the day slate in our Discord. He's like, player X is chalky. Does that mean I have to play? I'm like, no, you don't have to play him. Like you can look at a situation like Jaylen Green's and be like I view him and Devin Booker differently. Jaylen Green is obviously priced way more appropriately, has better positional eligibility, but Jaylen Green's 30% in like a brutal spot where Devin Booker's single digit ownership. Like there's obvious leverage to playing one of those players and fading the other. Yep. That being said, I think if you get to Jaylen Green and he continues his heater, like you'll be happy with it.
For sure. Especially because the rest of like the 6K tier, there's not really like
no.
You know, Najee Marshall's 59. You can play him at small forward as well,
yes.
which might help that a little bit. You have Melton at 6K, Trey Jones we've kind of touched on at point guard a little bit, and then I said Coward is the highest roster. He's over 30%.
Yeah, he's actually one of the two Memphis guys that I'm pretty comfortable with playing. With like all these guys out and traded that they've had, and like you know the doubtful players, the out players, the traded players, like all this most nightmarish situation for Memphis that could possibly happen. He actually has good numbers. We know he's a good rebounder. He can score the basketball at a pretty good clip for a rookie. And the price is really good against a great environment. So I think Coward is one of two Memphis players I'm like super interested in. We just had the DeAnthony Melton comment. Yeah, I don't hate DeAnthony Melton. I think the minutes should trend back up like in that 27-ish range. The 30 was a little bit of an anomaly because the overtime and he didn't even start that overtime. They put him in to specifically get him no more than 30 minutes. I think he missed the first like 2 minutes of overtime and then played him after that. And like they don't need to like this is a collapsing team.
Yeah.
3 games under 500 now. Like they don't need to get DeAnthony Melton hurt. So 27 minutes would probably be like a safe projection. I'd be okay with that. In the same positional eligibility, I'd rather play Najee Marshall, truthfully, now that he's back in the starting lineup. And we know that there's a higher minutes ceiling with Najee. I think they both, Melton and Marshall, look good. I prefer Marshall of the two. But yeah, anything else in the 5K tier is like, if Colin Sexton plays and there's no limit, that's okay, right?
Sure.
I think okay.
Gary Payton at 4,500 is getting 20%.
Speaks to what the
value is.
Yeah, and like we finally did get Gary Payton extended on a back-to-back. We've talked about that a lot. When there's been a back-to-back, he has typically not played a lot on one of the legs because he is a very oft-injured player. Like throughout his whole career, he has often gotten injured. This just speaks to where we are. I'm okay with Gary Payton because the spot is so good and like they are still down Moses Moody and obviously Steph is hurt and Horford's out. So they are maybe Cryer, maybe Post. Like they could be down a bunch of players that have been playing a lot of minutes. Seth Curry's already out as well.
Yeah.
I don't know what the role is with Porzingis back, with Draymond back, with DeAnthony Melton back. Steve Kerr is obsessed with Brandon Podziemski. It's a weird thing that he has going on with Podziemski. So I'm indifferent about Gary. Like if you end up on Gary Payton because you're like, I don't know where else to go with value. Sure. But because there isn't other stuff here. There really isn't. There's not like another play that I'd
There's a couple of value plays at small forward.
We can go to small forward.
Are getting some love. Obviously, Jaylen Brown's here at 91. You wanted to talk about him here. So what about JB?
So a little, obviously, some good, some bad. So the good is the yearly numbers are great. 36% usage, 1.3 fantasy points per minute. The bad, and the good, I'll say the good, $9,100, cheapest he's been in forever. The bad that in 95 minutes that he's played with Jason Tatum, he has a 23% usage. And he's 0.95 fantasy points per minute. Those are not good for a $95 or $9,000 player. He's almost 10K on FanDuel. So it's a tricky one. I don't love JB here. I think he's in play in tournaments because he is such a good offensive player. And at the end of the day, Tatum is still just 4 games back from a torn Achilles. But,
Well, Denny's getting almost double the ownership.
Yes. I think Denny looks great, amazing.
He's around 20% to JB's 11. So
yeah, 38 minutes. 38 minutes yesterday was all. I covered him on the playbook yesterday, and even said in the playbook, I was like, the minutes jump is going to happen. Like pre-back injury, he was playing monster minutes. And still no Shaded Sharp in this game. We assume no Robert Williams. I know they listed him questionable, but like he still hasn't played a back-to-back this year, so it would kind of be surprising if he played today. Without those players, 30.5% usage, 1.4 fantasy points per minute. Again, 38 minutes yesterday. It's kind of just like play and move on.
Yeah, I agree. You work your way down. We've talked Bain already. You talked a lot of these guys already. Sadiq Bey, 65. Najee Marshall can be played here. Kuminga's 58. De Silva's 56. Are we touching Kuminga at all?
No.
Okay.
No. I like this. Even De Silva is like a. I'm not against it. I'm fine with it.
I wrote up the rebound prop again. We're getting plus money over 5.5 rebounds. The rebound chances are all there for him again. The minutes are obviously there for him. So
yeah, I think he is. I think he's fine. I'm just getting priced out a little bit. It's like no real objection. Nothing like also that I'm like confident in.
Top teams, he's been okay. Nothing special, but the minutes.
The minutes should be fine. Jet Howard is available today for what that's worth. Like he has been, the minutes have been trending upwards for Jet Howard. So he needs to play well to continue the being on the floor.
Yeah. Working our way down. Jalen Wells is 48. Herb Jones is 48. Imagine Jalen Wells was the other name you were looking at.
Yes, he is. $4,800. If you look at the last 3 games that he's played without Ty Jerome, was 312, 309, 39, and 334, where he's gone for 30 plus fantasy points in each. He scored 17 actual points, and I'm like, they've always just played Jalen Wells this like mid-20s minute role. You've said that for like the whole year.
Yeah.
Like basically no matter. Sorry, I feel like am I a little laggy here, John? I'm sorry.
I think you're okay for me, but
okay. Well, good. Good to hear. Like the mid-20s minute role has like always stuck by Jalen Wells' side. No matter who's been in or out for Memphis, Jalen Wells has played mid to high 20s minutes. And there has been a little more of a wiggle room without Ty Jerome and Scottie Pippen and those guys. And there's no Gigi as well. I think this is an elite spot. The Bulls' best and only good perimeter defender in Isaac Okoro is not playing today. It's a really good spot for Jalen Wells at 48. Those would be the two. And I think like it's funny because you look at small forward, and this is a position that is getting like the most value play, right? Yeah. You have Herb Jones.
Herb's the highest at almost 30%.
Yeah, and like I like Herb Jones, but we also know what Herb Jones is, and he's someone who might go 2 for 6 from the floor tonight. I know there was foul trouble in that game, but he also, recently in this month went 1 for 7 in 33 minutes. Like that, Herb Jones also does that because he is tasked with defending the other team's best player. assuredly guard Cooper Flag tonight. Like that's something. So Herb at 48 is getting more ownership than Wells, and like where Herb obviously has the advantage is the positional eligibility and the likelihood that he plays more. But I think Jalen Wells has a much higher scoring and usage ceiling than Herb Jones. There's also the Gary Payton play here at 45 that people are getting to. And then there's Leonard Miller. You know, I think that there's two things that could happen here with Leonard Miller. One is they might just start Leonard Miller regardless because he's played so well and there's no Isaac Okoro. So like he's the Isaac Okoro replacement. Or Colin Sexton returns and Colin Sexton starts over Miller. But I do think regardless, Miller's role is going to be pretty solid. 4,300, really good spot. We've seen really good rebounder, pretty good offensive player, just good at fantasy when he's extended.
I was tempted to take his point prop today. It was at 11.5.
I mean, the best case scenario for him is Colin Sexton being ruled out.
Yeah.
Because then we've seen like Billy Donovan is still like he's still playing these dudes, right? Like we've seen other teams that are actively tanking like not play their starters this many minutes. The Bulls and the Kings, who are both super incompetent losers, keep playing themselves like out of lottery spots that they shouldn't. So that's the scary part of Sexton plays for Miller. I do think that Miller has played well enough to, you know, earn more playing time. In a lot of these games, John, I will say, like these, especially these last three, there has been a lot of guys in and out of the lineup, right? One of them, Jalen Smith, has been out. One of them, Gershon Yabusele, has been out. Colin Sexton's obviously been out all three. Simons, who's still out. But like, so there's been a lot of circumstance. Okoro's been out. There's been a lot of circumstance, and I know a lot of that is still in place here. But if Sexton plays, that's a little more worrisome for Miller. But if he's starting, I don't really have any objection. He's pretty low owned on the slate with not a lot of like good value.
Okay. Anything else here at small forward?
Anything else at small forward? Did we miss anything?
I mean, we talked Payton. I was already, you know.
No, I don't think so. Yeah, I mean, no, I don't think there's anything.
Okay. At power forward, then, some guys we've already discussed from an ownership perspective. So we'll just start at the top. Jalen Johnson's 10-9. Jalen Johnson is not highly owned tonight
at all. None. No rostership at all.
Yeah, it's up to 10%. It's more than it was earlier, but it's still less. It's still 10%. So, best player on the slate potentially at 10% usually feels pretty good. But there's not a lot of value, which is why you can't really get there. So it kind of take some risk to get him in your lineup. You do have Banchero. He is getting slightly more. He's around 15%. We talked Denny already, someone that we do like here today. He's around 20. And then Tatum at $8,600. Tatum also not getting any ownership. He's around the same as Paolo.
Yeah, he's Tatum's actually a really good price on FanDuel. He's $8K over there. I like that price quite a bit. So like I am always, for anyone that has watched the show knows this, I am like day one Jalen Johnson stan. So I forever like, you know, the way you win tournaments, or the way a way you can win a tournament, because this isn't, you know, doesn't have to be true, is getting low owned superstars, right? Like you play a low owned superstar, and if Jalen Johnson has a 30-point double-double or a 30-point triple-double, because that's obviously range of outcome for Jalen Johnson, well, then that's how you can win a tournament. It's just like it's just hard to get there on a day. Like Jalen Johnson is, you're playing Ryan Nembhard basically, and then you're playing one of those value small forwards immediately. Like the first three players, it's like Jalen Johnson, Ryan Nembhard, value small forward, and then building out the rest of your lineup. this is why Giddy's so much more popular, because he's nearly $2,000 less and is like Jaylen, like,
and it's 2-to-1 triple double. So
yeah, and he does what Jaylen Johnson does for $2,000 cheaper. But obviously alone, Jaylen Johnson could break the slate. So if you're playing MME, being even with the field at 10% or being a little higher than the field at 10% makes sense. I think Banchero, even though he hasn't shown it, does have a massive ceiling. Still really high usage rate, leads a team without Wagner and Black. Love Denny. Tatum is like definitely interesting. Obviously, you look at the numbers. I mean, he hasn't been efficient, and that will come because he's an efficient scorer. In the 4 games, he has a 32% usage. He's at 1.4 fantasy points per minute when you round up. I mean, it's good.
Rebounding in 2 games, 7 assists in 2 games.
Yeah, which is what he is a very good fantasy player that will be closer to 10K before you know it.
Yes.
And so in that respect, like, yeah, if Jason Tatum plays 32 minutes again, absolutely. I prefer him on FanDuel. If you play him on DraftKings, you get the double and triple double bonus potential as well. So there's that. But I have no objection. I just, that game, like, I don't know how much of that game I want to play. It's like almost like a max 1 situation of that game. Like if I'm playing Jaylen Green or Devin Booker, I don't really want to play Jason Tatum. The game is fun.
He is a good price. He is a good price though. So
it's a good price. I'm just saying it's a 216 total. I don't know if I want to like play more than.
I took the over rebound because we're getting plus money on it today. It's 7.5. So
Quentin Post and
ouch.
LJ Cryer both ruled out, which is interesting here Interesting a little bit for Golden State here. I know LJ Cryer
tonight. You'll get some.
I projected him at 25 minutes today.
Yeah.
So
Not bad.
I think it's probably gonna.
His point prop is 16.5, which
Yes,
I was
it
a
is.
little scary for 25 minutes, but who benefits with Post being out? I mean,
Draymond, Porzingis. I mean, honestly, I'll say it. Omer Yurtseven is also going to be...
Right, because Zinger's not playing 30. He's going to play 22 to 25 probably.
Yeah, he's played 20 to 22 in the last 3 games.
Yeah.
Fully off the injury report today, which is wonderful. Not even listed, which is...
Imagine if we got 34 minutes out of Kristaps Porzingis today when no one's expecting it.
It's the Warriors on a back-to-back, right? That's
not for him though.
No, right. That's just the problem in general with what I'm saying. Like we just got 3 or 2 different responses. Stay off my grass says Pat Spencer. Jake says Gary Payton. So that's the problem with Steve Kerr on a back-to-back. There's no consistency on who's going to be extended and who's not. So I think both those guys are potentially extended. It could also be Yurt-7. It also could be Porzingis, who plays 25 minutes, 26 minutes. It could be Draymond 32 minutes tonight. There's a whole list of possibility.
Sure. Where were we there? We're past Tatum. We have Buzelis, Zion, Santos in your 7K tier.
I think Buzelis is interesting. This tier is interesting, but it's hard for me to play them over PJ Washington. I think Buzelis looks good. Obviously, he has had a pretty good stretch of fantasy games, 36 plus fantasy points in 4 straight, and 8 of his last 9 or 8 of his last 10 rather. He's had a 60-point fantasy ceiling, which is great. so you're playing Buzelis because the matchup in the ceiling. Zion just looks. It just doesn't look as good playing with DeJounte. This, in theory, should be a great spot because Dallas allows more points in the paint than anyone else, and Zion gets all of his points in the paint or at the free throw line. So, again, in theory, that's a good spot. If DeJounte
blocker with PJ Washington, but like that's about it, right?
yeah, I mean it's like it's a if DeJounte is ruled out, I'm all in on Zion again because it's just you can see the numbers without DeJounte just skyrocket without him. So 7,500 I think looks good. Not a lot of interest in Santos with everyone back or everyone but Melton and Porzingis specifically like super high usage players. I just would prefer to play PJ Washington in this spot. I know Danny Wolf is another one that we'll talk about. But dude, I think that there's something to be said about Dallas going to the center lineup and then PJ coming away with 20, 11, and 5, 6 stocks in general.
It's like 34 potential rebounds the last 2 games for him.
Yeah, he's been a monster. Really good fantasy player without all the guys they've traded are out 1.1, including Gafford and AD and all those folks. So I think Washington looks great. Wolf is interesting. I just you have to understand that at this point, Danny Wolf, they're not closing the last 2 close games. They have not closed with him. So if this game is competitive, they'll play him his mid to high 20s and then they'll take him out.
Yeah.
And we've seen both ends of the spectrum there, right? We've seen 30 fantasy points, which is good. And we've seen 20.
When it's $4,800, now it's $5,900.
Right. So and he's getting a lot of ownership, and I get it because they're down a lot of front court players. They're down Michael Porter, they're down Daron for the year, they're down Noah Clowney, and all that stuff matters. And I don't have objection to Danny Wolf. He's been without those players and Cam Thomas. He's been 1.2 fantasy points per minute, nearly 24% usage, and that's solid. You can't feel confident with anything Brooklyn up here at this price range with the way that if you looked at his rotations on Add More Funds or Popcorn Machine or whatever, platform you use to look at rotations.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a dumpster fire, dude. He's no starters are closing the first half. He's just, Jordi Fernandez has closed each of the last 2 first halves with bench guys. Wolf hasn't, it's just been a big time headache to figure out. So now that we're getting a near 6K Danny Wolf, it's another situation where I look at ownership and I'm like, I don't feel like I need to play a $5,900 Danny Wolf. I'm not opposed to it, but I also don't feel like I have to jam that into my lineups.
Okay. Working our way down into some value here. Herb we can play as we've talked about. Porzingis is $5,500.
Yeah, him and Draymond I think both look okay. I mean, Porzingis, whatever the deal is with him, the fact that he's not listed on the injury report, the fact that the minutes have pretty consistently sat, in his 4 games, but in the last 3 since he's been back from this illness, he's at least played 20 plus minutes is pretty good, and 23 is a ceiling. Now there's no Horford, there's no Quentin Post. I like Porzingis here quite a bit in tournaments. I mean, it's an obvious, objectively an elite spot. We've talked about this forever. No matter who Washington has out there at center, Vucevic is foul happy. That's terrible news for them. Julian Reese is, probably not good enough at this point to be in the NBA, but he's on a 2-way and he'll play. So I'm definitely bullish on Porzingis because I do think that the minutes could tick up a little bit into that 24, 25, 26 minute range. And if I'm wrong there, so be it. He's been good even at the low 20s minute range. And I think Draymond, for what it is, for what it's been, he's played in 5 straight games that he's been on the floor. He's played at least 30 minutes. So it hasn't been a case of like not being on the floor, and he's had some decent ceiling at this price as well. 32 and 34 fantasy points in 2 of his last 3. So I'm good with the Warriors front court guys here, especially now that Post has been ruled out, because it's Post, it's Horford. I mean, they're super short-handed in the front court.
We'll get your questionnaire in a second. Let's just let us get through these, and we'll help you with Wemby Luka.
I also have a playbook that includes because FanDuel included the late games over at fantasyalarm.com. That includes the 2 games on FanDuel. It's not like the most appealing games ever, but I do have at the bottom of the playbook FanDuel only plays listed.
And you can check it out for 50% off if you're not already a member of the Fantasy Alarm family. And if you are, you can also get in our Discord and ask those questions as well. But we will help you out here at the end of the show. Just let us work our way through this DraftKings slate for there. All right. Where else are we looking to go at power forward once you get past that group? Any other values that you're potentially looking to target here? We did just get a little bit of an ownership update. Nothing too crazy. A small bump for Kristaps and Draymond. Minot's 19%.
I was gonna mention Josh Minot. Look, they have basically decided to use bench guys off, at the end of games. Minot closed the first half. He did not close the second half last game. He closed both halves the game before. So you're playing Russian roulette here with if he's going to close, if he's not. He didn't close against the Pistons, right? So it's a tricky one. I am fine with Josh Minot. He's had a good role with Brooklyn. Obviously, the results kind of speak for themselves with the ceiling performance, and that's what you're chasing. You're chasing the fact that he gave you a ceiling game and that he can do this in this setting because they're shorthanded and they're playing him low 20s minutes. So, but it's just not comfortable, obviously. It's another Brooklyn guy that you're like, oh, no, we're talking about more Brooklyn. That's never a fun time.
I agree. If we go on over to the center position here, Klingon obviously finds himself in a really good spot, but no one is playing him. He's under 10%. Okongwu, no one's playing him either. It's a lot of value plays that we've kind of hit on. Nobody above 6K is over 10% on tonight. So, talk to me, I guess, where you're looking to start your center builds.
I am praying that at 7 o'clock we get the Rob. I hope not a minute before 7 we get the Rob Williams out tweet, because I don't know why. Okay, I know why he's not getting ownership. This is a position. Value. Yeah, there's a position where you spend out.
And there's value actually at this position.
Yes, so. And it's someone we talked about in the pre-show. We literally were like, this is going to be one of the highest roster players of the slate. I cover boyed him on today's playbook, all that stuff. But Robert Williams hasn't played a back-to-back, right? They keep listing him questionable, and maybe that day comes where he does play a back-to-back, and it's possible. Yeah. But why? What do they need Robert Williams to play a back-to-back for, right? They don't. And in those games, Donovan Klingon plays mid-30s minutes because they don't really have a traditional backup center. Sometimes they'll go with the small ball Chris Murray, sometimes a small ball City Sissoko. So I love Klingon in tournaments today because I've been basically operating as if Robert Williams isn't going to play all day. And he's a 1.4 fantasy point per minute without Robert Williams and Shaedon Sharpe on the floor, that has mid-30s upside, that is playing a Brooklyn team that is just, I know Claxton is available, but the minutes are going to obviously be limited from him too. So I love Klingon tonight. I know, again, like this is a good value position. A lot of the now some of the value you can play at other positions, like both Golden State players we just mentioned. You can play in power forward and forward slots, so it's not necessarily a worry. Okongwu, I think, is okay. There's a ceiling. Keita has obviously a high ceiling as well, but I don't know how often that ceiling is going to be flashed in games that both JB
some good rebounding numbers, right? It's just whether or not he scores, I guess, with it. So
yes, but that is going to be few and far between when JT and JB are both operating at high levels, right? It's going to and White and Pritchard are all available. Like if
they just don't cover him, he'll score. Or if he's the 76ers, he'll get 45 offensive rebounds.
Yeah.
Score that way. So
right. But then like we get to the two obvious plays for me. Jalen Smith, he's the highest roster center of the day. He's an elite fantasy player. There's been no injury report listing for Jalen Smith in this one. He's played 30 plus minutes. Finally seems to be past the calf injury, knocks heavily on wood, like knocking on wood just maybe for the rest of the show, because obviously when a calf injury occurs, the Bulls haven't been the best at calf injury reporting. Ask Kobe White about that. But yeah, I think Jalen Smith looks great. And Memphis is obviously, throwing out in the year 2026, like Taj Gibson is available and playing. He played 12 minutes last game. So like, he is obviously an elite play. And I think Wendell Carter is another one who looks great. Dude, they are cutting out the fat of this rotation. It is Wendell Carter and Mo Wagner is like the only big men they're playing in this. Penda's getting some run, and Banchero, but like they're not playing anything else. He played 21 out of 24 second half minutes after being in foul trouble against the Heat the other day. Like they are going to play Wendell as many minutes as possible. They're winning every game with it. And they realize this is our best rotation. We are down two key cogs of our rotation. So I think Wendell has a really high ceiling.
Yeah, I've talked about him enough on the preview show. Like the minutes just kind of lock it in for me. So I'm fully on board. If they start Vucevic here, you're in?
Yeah, whatever Washington center starts is going to have some interest. I am fascinated to see what happens in that regard, because they could do many different things. They could do Vucevic. They could start Julian Reese. They could start Anthony Gill. I think it's pretty unplayable for whoever doesn't start. Vucevic is the best fantasy producer of that group. I would say Reese probably has the highest minute ceiling if he starts, because they don't ever really extend Vucevic much, and also he's always also in foul trouble, so he doesn't allow himself to get extended.
Yeah.
So I think that's worth mentioning. We had a comment earlier about I think I saw someone comment about Nick Richards. I think the comment was like, play Nick Richards and win a prize or something along those lines. Sure. I don't know if that's necessarily true. Like, I don't know if playing Nick Richards wins you a prize, especially with Jalen Smith and like Yabu and Jalen Smith are available.
The minutes have obviously, had been trending well.
But like again, Yabu missed one of these games. Jalen Smith missed one of these games. They have they possibly have Sexton back. So now does Leonard Miller now get more minutes at the 4, and now Yabu's now playing. Like there's like more of a cluster. Patrick Williams is now back. Like there's a much bigger cluster. I'm not saying I hate Nick Richards. I'm also just saying I don't know what the minutes are gonna definitively look like with like most of their big men available, because there's been a missing piece in like all of these games.
Sure. Anything else at center?
We talked Minot. I don't think so. I don't think there's anything we need to talk about. Let's see if there's anything else in ownership. I don't. Misi played like a whole bunch of minutes the other game.
I told you that they did play Misi when you said they were going small, and they obviously did go small with Zion starting. Misi still got 25 minutes there, so
he's like the only. Well, they also only gave like Queen didn't he didn't play. He played 12 minutes, and then they barely played Fears. It was basically Makovic and Misi were like the only two players they played off their bench. And we've talked about this before, John. Like Pelicans' value is typically tricky because they don't have any incentive to tank. They don't have a draft pick next year. So like they also have an interim head coach who's probably trying to get hired as a full-time head coach going into next year, and James Borrego. So it's tough to play like bench guys. You know, I'm not slighting Yves Misi. He closed, you know, he played a lot over Sadiq Bey down the stretch of that game. Well, I guess he subbed in. He was in the Zion sub. It was Makovic that played over Sadiq down the stretch. It's a tricky one. Like if you're starved for value, you could do worse than Yves Misi.
Okay. Let's see. Let's get to the Luka Wemby question. Which one would you rather play?
I think I'd rather play Vic, no Cornette, and no Dylan Harper. I would probably say Wembanyama.
Okay.
But it's close.
Suggs or Murphy for Steven?
Suggs. That question could drastically change if we get DeJounte news.
Okay. Draymond Green listed available to play today. Dyson Daniels or Melton?
Dyson Daniels or Melton? Probably Melton. Probably Melton in tournaments.
Will Kamara get good run if it's a blowout? Willie Clue. I mean, I bet the under points for Kamara the other day, and that came in pretty easily.
I've seen you do that like multiple times now, and I almost did it yesterday.
He doesn't shoot.
And he misses when he does. I don't ever play Toumani Kamara. I think 6K may be the most outlandish price tag of like any player.
I didn't actually write it up today, but like, what is it? Is it 7.5 again?
It was like 11.5.
Oh, dude, yeah, wasn't it? Oh, dude, well, like 12.5. Why is Toumani Kamara's points 12.5?
Because it's because it's Brooklyn.
But they're like the only thing that Portland's missing though is Sharp. Like
and possibly Rob Will.
Sure, but that doesn't really impact his scoring. Like Denny's still playing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would be willing to bet the under there. Oh, Miguel Rojas suspended 80 games.
No way.
More time opening up for the Los Angeles Dodgers infield there. How much Tommy Edman do you have, Grande, in your best ball lineups?
He's hurt.
No.
Banned substance.
I'll come back.
And I wonder, does Toronto appeal the World Series?
Possibly.
Miguel Rojas won them the World Series.
Thoughts on coming into single entry?
Not my favorite. PJ over Najee.
Yeah, PJ over Najee there. Dude, I might bet under 12.5 points again.
I know. No, I you don't need to say might. We all know you're
like 11% usage rate.
You're actively gonna bet it, and I understand it completely.
Actually,
we have 9. I think we have 9 bets loaded into the bet tracker today. I think you had 5, and I loaded up 3.
I have a lot of bets in the bet tracker. I got a couple of plus money bets in the bet tracker for tonight too. So we'll see.
Nice.
Alrighty, let's figure out our lineup situation here. I think we're going Jaylen Smith.
Jaylen Smith. Yep.
Giddy. All right.
Yep. PJ
Washington. Yeah. And then Wells, small forward.
Yeah.
Give me one more.
Jaylen Suggs.
Do we play Porzingis?
Jaylen Suggs.
Suggs.
Well, all Jaylen lineup. Wells, Jaylen Smith, Wells, Suggs, and Smith.
Oh, there's 800 Jaylens in the NBA.
Dude, that's the best song of all time.
Especially since he uses Jaylen Smith twice.
Yeah, so. That's who Jaylen Smith. Jaylen Smith from the Pacers.
Jaylen Smith from the Pacers.
It's great. It's great, dude.
Zion or Murphy or both? Would you try to get both?
I would max one. unless
DeJounte's in. You'd try to play like I would. Even then, I think I'd go Murphy. There's your official Robert Williams out.
Dude, why was he ever listed questionable? Can somebody explain that to me?
Krejci also out tonight as well.
There's just I don't. Someone explain that one.
I would rather play Murphy and Murray if you're playing two Pels. If Murray is in,
yeah, I probably wouldn't anyway, but Rob Will out. Look, everyone knows. Like, who are you fooling, Portland? No, Robert Williams was not questionable.
Who's live to get 30 actual points today? 30 actual points.
Luka.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Luka's averaging like 40 over his last 30 actual.
Denny?
Yeah, I mean, I looked at Denny. I wondered if that game was going to get too out of hand to where he couldn't get there. I mean, Booker, maybe.
Booker's on a heater.
Going to shoot a ton. It's not like a high upside scoring slate. You're on fan. I mean, if you're looking at the slate as a whole, though, right? Like, because there's Houston and the Clippers on this slate as well.
Lakers, Lakers, Houston, Spurs, Clippers.
Clippers. I mean, like if Kawhi plays, Kawhi could hit 30.
Kawhi's out.
Well, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. All right. There's an example lineup for you guys. Get in the Discord. Check out the playbook. Best bets are live. We'll have the preview show tonight as well for you all. So make sure you stay tuned for the Tuesday slate. We'll catch you later.